Hogstye.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogstye. It is I, Alex, and Steve, and Dave. We're all here. It is the eve of the first preseason game. We're going to talk about that a little bit, what you guys are excited to see maybe, what you're not excited to see maybe. But first, I think we got to get to the big story of the past few
Just
days.
no vamping whatsoever, huh? We're
No
just gonna go
vamping.
straight
We,
into
we
what
got
if I
we got a
want to
lot to
vamp,
cover.
Alex?
We
What
got a
if I
lot to
want to
cover.
vamp? What if I want to talk about something silly and ridiculous for 2 minutes just because I feel like it? How about
Okay,
that?
Steve, what did you do on your guitar? What did
I
you
don't
do?
have anything. Go ahead.
Well,
All
I
right.
will say this: it is no joke when your grandson gets sick, and he passes it on to you. As twice in the last month and a half, I got sick,
What'd you
but that's
get?
okay.
What was it?
I guess a cold is all it was.
Okay.
Well,
We
last
don't
time
ha-
I got bronchitis out of it last time. I barely even made the
Oh, that's
show. I
awful.
kept
we don't
muting
have
every time.
time. We don't have time for this vamping, Dave.
Well, I got to put
we
something in there.
we do have a jam-packed show.
We do have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We'll
Uh,
put my grandson on the back burner then. That's okay.
As he should be. He should be in the
don't
back
put
burner.
your baby in the hot bath. Don't put your baby in the hot bath, Dave. That is a reference that is getting older by the minute.
I don't know what that reference is. What is that reference?
It's the Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman movie. Why am I forgetting the name? Rain
Rain
Man.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's in Rain Man?
Yeah.
That's a long time since I've seen that. Wow.
Movie nerd here. So what do you
Tom
do?
Cruise is one of the few movie stars of today who's a legitimate big time star who just makes movies, just to
Yeah.
entertain me. All he does is drive motorcycles off of cliffs.
Well,
You
that and
know,
he's in a weird cult, but that's
yeah,
another story.
but he doesn't get into that. He doesn't plug that. He just entertains
he
you. I
plugs.
like Tom Cruise,
He
huh?
does.
But he doesn't in the movies to the audience. Okay, I mean, this is a lesson of all these Hollywood people. Don't educate me. I'm smarter than you. Just make movies that entertain me. Period.
The other thing
And
about Tom Cruise
please
is he's a
don't,
vampire.
and please stop preaching to me about some moral standard that
Yes.
you want me to learn from you. Please stop.
Absolutely.
already.
There's nothing you can teach me except how to act, possibly.
Right.
Tom Cruise, very good actor. Also
Yes.
insane.
Oh, he's crazy, but I mean, okay.
A lot of fun listening to other celebrities who've worked with him talk about him candidly and just how OCD he is about everything. It's just insane. Focus.
Now I'm happy. Now we vamped.
All right,
Go
we
ahead.
vamped.
Continue.
Steve's happy. So, guys, we couldn't have done it. We couldn't go a full off season without some stupid S coming out of camp and kind of trying to derail the season a little bit. And that happened this week. Ron Rivera asked a very kind of simple question by Nikki Javala of The Post, asking if Bieniemy's new coaching style, let's put it that way, has caused any friction with some players at times. And Rivera gave a long Ron Rivera-like answer where it's a lot of coach speak, a lot of, well, there's things that happen and stuff like that. And, like he doesn't want to get specifics. I have the full quote and I can read it.
I got it. It's
Yeah.
a little long. Yeah,
It is a little
okay.
long.
So I think the important part, the part that caught the most attention is kind of at the end of this thing. It seems to me. So he says, and this is like 2/3 of the
Actually,
way
it's
through.
the stuff in the beginning that people freaked out about.
Okay, well, there's two parts I think about it. The beginning of it is the question is, have players had to adapt to Eric Bieniemy's intensity and have any struggled with it at times? That's Nikki Javala, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And so then his answer, yeah, they have. And one of the biggest things is I had a number of guys come to me and said, and I said, yeah, hey, just go talk to him. I said, understand what he's trying to get across to you. I think as they go and they talk and they listen to him, it's been enlightening for a lot of these guys. And then that gets into some coach speak. And at the end, he says, Eric has an approach, and it's the way he does things, and it's not going to change because he believes in it. Jack, meaning Jack Del Rio, has his approach. Having been a head coach, I think Jack has a tendency to try to figure these things out a little bit more as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Eric hasn't had that experience yet.
Right.
I think, those are the relevant parts of the quote.
Those are the big parts. And, of course, because we've had nothing to overreact to, the local media and the national media are all reacting like Ron Rivera just, opened fire on Eric Bieniemy and his own players. And maybe a little bit you could see how that would come across. If you listen to him talk, it didn't feel that way. Ron Rivera was just giving a generic Ron Rivera answer where he's not trying to be specific. I had a number of guys come to me. A number of guys is the classic. It might be one guy, it's all coach speak, and sometimes coach speak can get you in as much trouble as being very specific. It reminds me a lot of you remember when Jay Gruden called out Robert Griffin for his work habits.
Yeah, I thought that was way more than what Ron said right here.
Right, but it's in the same vein. It's you never want to throw players under the bus to the press.
Which
period.
he did do. He did throw Griffin to the press.
Yes,
to the
Jay did,
bus.
And Rivera's doing that here a little bit. He's not being specific as to who, but he is throwing people under the bus a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but the Jay thing I thought was worse because Jay really did say, I can't remember exactly, but it was like Robert needs to focus on himself and worry about how to be a quarterback or something like that. Is sort of what it was. And I just thought it was a bit over the top. You don't need to say that. And this thing, I mean, and Dave, you sent out some videos of press people talking about it. One
people's
was
overreaction to it is hilarious.
Right. Yeah, so one was LaShawn McCoy, the former Eagle, and then the other one is some woman I've never heard of whatsoever named Joy Taylor, who I guess is on.
She's been co-hosting that
some show called Speak. I don't know what that is. Is that on? Looks like this Fox Sports 1, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, it's her, McCoy. I can't remember who the other people are. But
Emmanuel Ocho.
Yeah, Ocho's on it.
Yeah,
right.
So I thought what this Joy Taylor woman said was just absolutely ridiculous and absurd.
She just went all into her own feelings.
It's just so stupid. It's just, it's dumb.
One, she said something along the lines of, "Well, I've never heard of a player going to their head coach to complain about." What?
I've heard of a million of them.
I've heard. Have you ever worked in an office or worked anywhere that you haven't had somebody bitch about their boss?
I have solved problems in my office recently about exactly that. People come to me and say,
every day at work.
This other person is offending me. Okay, let's go sit down and we will talk about it.
You both worked in a very regimented work structure in the military at one point. Even there, people bitch about their boss or their commanding officer, and you got to work stuff out sometimes.
Well, see, what kills me is that they both had their comments, and they both talk about how you're yelling at the players. Players don't respond like that anymore, and that's a whole nother That's a whole nother opinion I have on that too as well. But the one thing that drives me nuts is this team has gone the softer approach, the low key approach, the players' approach for how long.
Yeah.
And how well has that worked out? It's been nothing but a disaster here in Washington. Now we get a coach.
3 years, they've been 25th on offense or 24th to 25th on offense every year.
Y'all read my column from Monday, I see.
Yes.
Right. But see, we've been brutal. So now we have a coach who's come in here, who's been part of Super Bowl teams, won 2, lost 1, and he's been a part of a winning organization who's had his way. And the only person I've ever heard out of KC to ever complain about his coaching style is when LaShawn McCoy was there for 5 minutes.
Right.
And his apparently fragile mentality couldn't handle, a little bit of yelling. I get it. Some players can't handle that, and that's fine. That's for a coach to figure out and maybe find an alternative way down the road. But you want this man to change his complete coaching style, has been a proven winner, and who has players like Kelsey and Mahomes have full support because they love what they've learned from the man, and you want him to change all that just because we had to be more sensitive to emotions.
I mean, there is a reason Eric Bieniemy isn't a head coach yet. I have heard and
Joy
read
Taylor mentioned that too, which probably not wrong.
I've heard and read that it is his style, that has kept him from being a coach. So some of that may have validity, but the Joy Taylor part especially was just touchy-feely nonsense. I mean, look, first of all, this is not an office. It's a football field,
Right.
and the rules are not the same on a professional football field. No, you wouldn't want something like that talking inside, your accountant's office. That would be wholly
Sure.
inappropriate. But football is different, and I have absolutely not one shred, ounce, or minuscule or atom of sympathy for people who are making $800,000 a year to play a game, and you can't handle a little yelling. That's absolutely ridiculous, and I have my sympathy is zero for that. And,
Right.
and like you said, Dave, I mean, this team for like a generation has been a bunch of, with apologies to Marty Schottenheimer, has been a bunch of, and possibly Shanahan, I guess, probably too, a bunch of really soft players, coaches,
Mhm.
and like you said, this team has sucked forever. Maybe
Right.
it's maybe a guy that yells at them and holds them to account, is what they need. And furthermore, if you can't handle it, get out, quit.
Yeah.
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 There's a million people that want to be in the NFL. So I have not. I think it's all ridiculous, and
Yeah.
I have, it's dumb.
My big thing is really in the end though, I think people are making something out of nothing here. Like this is just Ron was giving some like half-assed answer and didn't really think it through, and he phrased some things poorly. I don't even think anything he said is all that bad.
Oh, I didn't either. I hadn't
Yeah.
heard of this until today.
Right.
Because I'm not really on social media and everything. And I read this quote and I thought, this can't be it. I asked you guys, is this the quote?
Yeah.
Because I don't. Anybody makes a thing out of this. But here's what I want to ask. Let's assume it's true. Let's assume that some number of people came to Ron and said, "Oh my God, Eric's so mean." I mean, my response would literally be, "So what?" I mean, that's what I would tell them. So what? Get over it.
Well,
They are adult men on a football field. What do you want?
And you know what?
What does Ron say? He said, just go talk to him and try and understand what he's going to. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you do
Right.
as a
That's
manager.
nicer
You say,
than I would have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
and sort it out
you know,
amongst yourselves. You're adults.
and let's be honest too. I mean, Belichick has never been a player's coach. He has confronted guys, even Tom Brady,
He's a
for
complete
making
jerk.
mistakes. But what's the difference? He won these championships. The Patriots
Mhm.
have always been a winning organization, so no one has to single that out.
Right.
So it's not that big of a deal. But yet now you have Eric Bieniemy, he's maybe a little more boisterous probably than Belichick ever was. Maybe,
Mhm.
I guess.
I don't
But
think Belichick ever talks. So yes.
no, yeah.
He
But
just
see,
mumbles to himself.
but see, here's a difference. So Belichick never left any form of a door open for media or anyone to make any kind of critical comments or statements about it. But see, that's where Ron Rivera, sometimes he speaks too much, and he just needs to keep it real short and sweet. And somewhere in that statement, a door was left open just enough for someone
Yeah.
just to rip it
Well-
open and make more of a deal than what it really was.
All
Where-
he needs to say, all he should have said is, it's a team matter, and we're trying to coach up the players, and we'll handle that in house. And that's what
Yeah.
Belichick would have mumbled some nonsense like. That's the
Yeah.
way to handle it. And I guess
Right.
we should have say that Ron himself put out a struggle session.
Oh yeah, he had to come
statement.
back and clarify today, which is terrible. He had to read from a written document.
You guys sent this to me. Was it you, Dave? You, Dave,
Yeah.
sent this to me, and I'm looking at this. I didn't read what you wrote. I just started watching the video, and I see that he's reading from a statement that's
Yes.
prepped up against his hat.
Yeah.
And it's this, I should have watched my words, and I should have clarified my words, and I didn't mean to offend. And it's really like a struggle session,
Yeah.
That's Ron. Just stop talking. He should. All of this is ridiculous.
Look.
There's no controversy. Shut up. Don't say anything. The end. Maybe you go talk to Bieniemy personally and say, hey, do you, or whatever. And
Yeah.
maybe Eric is far harsher than an average coach, but I have no sympathy for it at all, and it's a total non-story. This should not be
And
something
see,
we're talking about.
Here's my thing about I don't care if you are a player's coach, a hard ass. Both styles have won. You know what actually matters? How much are you paying attention to detail?
Competence.
How well are you
Right.
getting that across to your players? That's how
Yes.
you win as a coach. That's how you have success. It doesn't matter if you curse, if you don't curse. It doesn't matter if you are like super religious like Joe Gibbs or a godless heathen like Bill Belichick. Just doesn't matter.
A godless heathen? Do you know he's a godless
You
heathen?
can't tell me that guy doesn't have like a giant devil worshipping altar in his basement. Come on.
Jerry Jones is the godless heathen.
And if you believe all the reports have been coming out over the last couple of days, I mean, you see the improvement on the offense.
Absolutely.
I mean, in terms of how Howes now has been really kind of processing everything a little bit quicker, more efficiently.
I don't know. All that. I don't believe any of it until I see it in a game. I don't necessarily buy into that.
I get that, and I think we all three agree on that. But I mean, if you follow the progression on some of the reports that are coming down, I'm talking from like John Keim and Lake Lewis. They're kind of guys that I look at the most because they're more critical, more honest about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not the real big fanboys of the media want to try to portray a certain picture. And they've seen some positive growth, but they still talk about the offensive line and how they're being pushed around everywhere, which is a whole nother conversation. But see, right now, the league, the media are all used to what scandal are we going to talk about in Washington this year.
Yeah, that's a huge
That's
thing.
gone. That's not there. So now it's like, what are we going to say? What are we going to do? Well, here's an opening. For as little as it is, let's blow it up and make something out of it.
It's much ado about nothing in the words of Shakespeare.
It is.
And furthermore, just the last thing here is if these 20-something-year-old bleeding hearts can't handle it, I mean, screw them. I don't know what else to say. Get over it. I mean, the whole thing's...
Yeah. I don't even think it was... I'm guessing it was, hey, we need to have that conversation. They had that conversation. It's over. It's not like we're seeing any players quit on the field here. We did see...
You haven't actually seen any players on the field yet.
Well, on the practice field, you know what I mean? Like there were some fights there, fighting, yeah, it was who was it? Sam Cosme and was it Mathis? It was one of the DTs. Got in a fist fight.
Was it a good fight?
They didn't have video, but they both looked pretty angry. Yeah, it was a no attendee, no fan day.
Yeah, I'm sure Cosme couldn't maintain his position anyways in the whole fight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mathis hadn't played either though, so.
Yeah.
But he's fresher.
That's a lot of meat in a fight, though. Those two guys are pretty big.
Between the two of them, they may not be able to hit a thing, though.
Yeah. But, I mean, Dave is right. Like, reports this week coming out of training camp have been much better for the offense. The week I was there, they struggled a lot. But now they seem to be bouncing back, which is good, I do really think the defense didn't let up very much those first couple weeks, and that probably forced them to struggle and adjust pretty quickly as an offense. So, that's that whole idea of iron sharpens iron, right? Like,
yeah,
you got to get your ass kicked a little to know where your weaknesses and strengths are going to be. Yeah, training camp's been looking good. I don't know if you saw this. You did, Dave. I'm guessing Steve didn't. The governor of Maryland showed up to training camp this week, so now
I
we've
did
had.
Not see that.
Yeah, the Virginia governor showing up in Glad Handing to try and get a new stadium. Now the Maryland governor's doing the same thing. The only real difference, both basically say the exact same things. We want the team in our state now. Blah 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 blah. Who gets more points? Virginia governor shows up dressed in governor gear, blue shirt, no blazer or anything because it's hot. But Maryland governor shows up wearing a team jersey. He was wearing a Chase Young jersey. I don't know it doesn't really matter, but
it matters.
That was
not
my observation.
One single bit. It may matter.
It was the only difference between the two of them.
As a minor PR point with fans, it might matter, but
exactly.
It does not actually matter.
Yeah. And of course, the mayor of DC has done nothing because that's what she does.
That's what she's good at.
Yes. Very well. It's funny. She's always looking for a photo op, so I'm surprised she hasn't been there like 8 times now.
Who's the governor of Maryland now?
Wes Moore. He just got. He just won the last election. whatever, September. So new governor. And he is way more into getting the team to stay than Larry Hogan was, I think. So
Yeah, Larry Hogan wasn't really
Yeah.
down with the cause. I mean, can you blame him though? I mean, look at the situation.
Oh no, timing wise, I also think they were all playing the "Can we get Snyder out" game at that moment. Like they all
sure,
picked
of
up
course
on
they
the
were.
Sure.
if we don't give him a stadium, he goes away. They figured that out, so they were like both parties in all
Almost
states.
colluding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way politics actually works. Everybody, every once in a while, the two parties say we can agree to do one thing, right? And
Right.
they do it. Yeah, so that was one thing that happened in camp though, was the governor showing up. Let's see. Do we want to talk a little bit of the preseason game, or do we want to talk about the stupid players doing stupid things?
No, let's do precincts first. Knock that out. So
Okay.
it's the Washington versus Cleveland. Is this a home game or is this in Cleveland?
So
I believe
it's in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's in Cleveland.
Okay. So I don't really care about Cleveland particularly. So the question I would have is, what do Washington fans want to see out of this game? To me, if you ask me, with only 3 preseason games, number one, I think this trend of never playing your starters because you're terrified is counterproductive.
It is.
Especially for a team with a new offense and a new rookie quarterback, all of that bad juju. I think you got to let him play, and I think you got to let particularly the offense gel a little bit. There's, it's kind of a new system. It is not
Right.
kind of, it is a new system. So I would like to see particularly Sam Howell and the starting offensive line, quote unquote, for whatever it's worth, play like they won't, but ideally they'll play like the whole first half. That's what I would want to see.
Well, I do know the reports came out that they are going to start them. For how long, though, who knows? But
yeah.
I can't imagine it can't possibly be very long if history's a guide, but they should, I think.
The historic guide would tell you it's usually the old 1 good series or 10 plays rule. Like if you score a touchdown in your first series, they bench you. If you don't, you're playing 10 plays.
And Ron seems to be a guy who plays the starters less, but I think it's a mistake. And what I would want to see from the players, at number one, you want to see Sam Howell look like he belongs.
Yeah.
Not look like a mess.
Right.
I want to see that. I want to see one of these tight ends, like Dave, you've been talking about Cole Turner, whoever it is, one of these tight ends step up and look like a legit receiving threat. Want to see that. Want to see one of the running backs look like a professional running back. Probably Brian Robinson, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But we also haven't seen Chris Rodriguez at all. He's a rookie, so that's what I want to see on offense. Defense, do they actually have an NFL quality linebacker? So do one of these linebackers look like they belong? And then you want to see the rookie corners. That's what I would look for in this game.
I mean, obviously you're going to be paying attention to those rookie corners on defense. Now, we were talking about playtime for the offense. I'm less worried about it overall for the defense. We have more established veterans there. I think, it's pretty consistent. If they want to be a little more conservative on that side, I don't think they would do a half, but I would love to at least see the starting offense for a quarter. That would be the ideal. Like, give them a quarter there, a half the second game. And I know the third game, they probably will sit them all because everyone does that now. But, it's getting to a point with 3 preseason games and the way a lot of these coaches treat it, you don't even play the starters for more than, maybe a quarter and a half of that second game anymore. Like, guys just aren't playing their starters, and it's a problem.
I think it's a mistake. When you're talking about a team that has a new system in particular, this is not an established team, and it's not a good team, and they need work,
Sure, if they had been in the same offense for 5 years and you had a good quarterback who you trusted, sure, different game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I'm with you. I would like to see Sam Howell at least get a full game's worth of reps.
But he's not going to. We know that.
But yeah, I know he won't.
I definitely. I mean, it has to be at least a quarter for me. I gotta see like Sam Howell and this offense together. They really do need to have that time. See, especially this offensive line, which is, because right now, there was a video this week of Leno just being manhandled by Chase Young almost all week.
It was brutal.
It was terrible. And so now if Cleveland plays their defensive front for at least a quarter, I mean, you could see like Myles Garrett and stuff having, seeing how they hold up against that line because Cleveland's defensive line is a very good unit. But I like to see how Bieniemy might kind of tip his hand a little bit on how he's going to protect Hal in these schemes against this offensive line, because in recent days in camp, it seems like he's been moving Hal a lot out of the pocket and using a little more misdirection with like Curtis Samuels and stuff to try to generate a little bit more time. It looks like Bieniemy is adjusting to what this offensive line cannot do, which is almost everything.
I was going to say that's a lot. I mean, that's not narrowing it down.
Yeah. Well,
at least they spent solid first and second round draft picks on the biggest need on the team. I mean, I'm glad they didn't waste it on secondary when they needed offensive line.
Right.
Thank God that happened.
Yeah. It will always flummox all of us, I believe. That move. I'm glad to hear Bieniemy's kind of adjusting, and we'll see how it plays out there. But because last year, not Sean McVay, Turner, he did not know how to adjust for anything with that offensive line. He had no plans on fixing it, or rolling a quarterback out.
I blame it on Ron Rivera. Ultimately, he's the head coach.
Oh, sure.
He picked the players. He could have dictated. He sees far more than we do. He knows more about football than we ever will combined. And I just think he doesn't care about it. He doesn't prioritize it.
It's not his priority.
And the brutal part about it too is that if he was able to draft and maintain at least an above average offensive line, I think this defense is good enough with some solid running back play that, I mean, they could be chasing down for a wild card game. I mean, it's just, they wouldn't have ever taken the Eagles, but I mean, they could have been like right down to week 16, 17 vying for a wild card position. But it's just really sad when you watch it, because this defense is good enough for the playoffs. And if you give Sam Howell more than adequate enough time, you never know what he could develop into throughout the course of the year. But I think he's going to spend most of his time running for his life. He's going to force himself into mistakes that's going to be crucial.
Yeah, you're basically talking about that classic.
And that's...
Sorry, you froze up for me, Dave. So I thought
we had a little bit of a technical problem there.
Yeah, I don't know who froze up where, but it was a little thing. It happens.
I think it was Ron Rivera's fault.
Yeah, we're gonna put this one on Rivera. This is all on him.
And then I just yanked my cord out of my headphones by accident on top of
everything's going wrong at once. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point, Dave. They could have easily kind of gone for that Tennessee model of, good line, run game, defense, and maybe you have average quarterback play to get you pretty far. But they didn't go that route.
They've gone the bad offensive line, totally unproven quarterback, lack of a run game route.
Right.
No linebackers.
Real quick, you guys have seen what Tennessee is doing in the preseason here with their coaching?
I have not. Oh yeah, I did see that. What's the head coach's name?
Vrabel.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel has promoted one of his assistants to be head coach for the game.
Right. A guy who he thinks could be a head coach someday. Yeah. He's going to give him some experience in preseason. How has this not been done before? This is very smart in my opinion.
Because there's a lot of ego involved here. These are not normal people. These are people with massive egos involved. And by the way, so if the guy screws up, does Vrabel just go, okay, you had your chance, you're fired? I mean, that would be funny. No, sure. but I think it's all like, think about how many quarterbacks are drafted with problems, and it's because the coach goes, I can coach him up.
Right.
I can do it. There's so much narcissism involved with these people that I think most of them just, I'm not going to let him get a chance. Why should I do that? I'm the coach. He needs to sit in his place,
Right.
Well, I think it's very smart overall.
Great idea.
Yeah. And I'd like to see more coaches do it. Washington, let's be honest, we were a bit of a coordinators becoming good coaches factory for a while. in that
And they would
Shanahan.
run screaming as fast as they could to get out.
Yeah.
And I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, like we could have seen a lot of that done with McVay, with LaFleur, with uh, I'm forgetting the other guy, the guy who with the Vikings now.
Yeah, there's been a couple.
Oh,
There's been a couple of them.
Yeah. We've literally, if you really look at the NFL, I think 6 coaches now were Redskins assistants at one
It's
point.
kind of weird that there's a Redskins assistants tree and that the team itself sucked, but they always guys get good.
Right.
God, what does that tell you? By the way, one more thing I would want to see out of this game if I was a fan. I think you want to see Chase Young look like something.
Yeah.
And what I mean
that's
by
a good
that
point.
is he was totally invisible. You want to see him look like he cares and look like he's back to full form and that he's actually paying attention and wants to be there. And
Well,
then he does that to get him out.
It's actually funny you say that because I know he was working with like Von Miller and stuff like that in the off season. It looks like he's been toying around with just more than just a simple bull rush move and just a quick move to the inside. He's been working, looks like more on with his footwork, getting to the outside and dropping his shoulder more, and it just seems like he's adapting himself a little bit more to the game. But will it translate? We'll see.
Maybe he knows that it's falling apart for him and he needs to do better. Maybe he's figured that out. We'll see.
There was a great little video early on from training camp of Chase Young and Jonathan Allen after practice. Just practice. They're just doing handwork together, like practicing swim moves and little things like that. Like
are they playing patty cake?
it kind of looks like it kind of looks because they're doing like the ninja stuff where they're not really hitting each other, but like
ninja stuff is a whole nother level of interaction.
Well, maybe someone got through to him and said, "Dude, you have all this talent in the world, man.
Yeah,
come on. I mean, shape it up, form into something."
Because I never thought he looked to me like he was more psyched to be Chase Young NFL player than he was psyched to be actually an NFL player.
Right.
If you know what I mean, and maybe he's woke up to it. Maybe it takes some guys a couple years to figure it out. Maybe he's one of them.
One of the drawbacks of going to a place like Ohio State, man. Like these guys are treated like gods there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're the elite, one of the elite teams, so I get it. But
you went to
the
football
NFL,
hell,
that.
And you fell into football hell in Washington. So
yeah, you got to fight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of fighting, let's talk about guys making good decisions. Former Washington Redskin Bashaud Breeland was arrested in the Carolinas. He had quite the long list of things he was arrested for here, Steve.
Yeah, this is great. I love this story. So if
we
you
got
recall,
a stolen car, right?
If you go back in the Wayback Machine, Bashaud Breeland was a bit of a mess when he was in Washington. He got arrested before for stupid things and drugs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, marijuana. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so he was arrested in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the offenses include possession of a stolen motor vehicle, altering serial numbers, altering title, possession of marijuana, possession of Schedule I controlled substance, and possession of stolen firearm. Now, to provide some context here, the stolen vehicle was a Mercedes SUV. The guns were 2 AR-15s and 2 AK-47s. The marijuana, whatever you feel about drugs, you may go, marijuana, that's not too much of a crime anymore. Well, he had 5 pounds.
Yeah, that's a lot of marijuana.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
And then the Schedule I controlled substance was mushrooms and drug paraphernalia. So if you look at this, stolen motor vehicle is a felony. I don't know about the altering serial number, altering title. Not sure.
I assume that gets tacked on.
Yeah, probably. The marijuana is going to be a felony at that level.
Right.
The Schedule I controlled substance, even possession, that's a felony. And then the stolen firearms, there's 4 of them there. So that's 4 felonies there. So he's got 4, 5, 6, at least 7 felonies and probably more than that tacked into this. So, I mean, posted bail, $30,000 bond. I don't think this is the type of thing that he's just going to walk away from, especially since he does not have a clean record. That's very important. And what is he doing? I mean, if you have 5 pounds, Alex, you're a druggie. I mean, 5 pounds of marijuana is how much in terms of like a bundle of drugs?
Well,
Trash
think
bag
like
full
2
or
full
what?
backpacks maybe.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's like dealing drugs then.
Y-
Odds are
You
probably.
are he's dealing drugs and probably dealing in the guns too. You don't drive around generally with four
Four
long
rifles.
guns
Yeah, right.
or whatever. Yeah. Some I don't I when they say AK-47, I assume they don't mean an actual like fully
Well, I don't
automatic.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
felons and gang members do have fully automatic weapons.
Yeah.
These type
But
of people do not follow the law. That's the whole point.
right, right.
So it
That's
could have
where
been fully automatic.
yes. So those are probably also for sale, would be my guess. You
Like
know?
what is going on with this guy? I mean, did he not make? Yeah, he's out of the NFL,
Right.
but he made
He had a
10,
long career. He
15
won a
million
Super Bowl with
dollars.
Kansas City. Yeah.
I mean, what is he doing?
I
Clearly, he's a
Oh,
scumbag and a
yeah.
bad person, and
well, well, after all this, he's obviously going to be a Cowboy next week.
yeah, that's true. He fits the mold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fits the
right.
mold.
Yeah.
So what is going to happen to him? Hard to say. I mean, I haven't read I don't think he's even been indicted yet. I mean, I haven't read it. I'm just reading this one. Oh, the column, if you want to read this, is what Dave found, or I think Alex, you found this one. WBTV 3.
Right.
NFL veteran charged with stealing vehicle, possession of drugs after Charlotte arrest, published the 9th, and it's just credited to the staff of the station. So that's where it came from. But he's going to prison for some
Yeah.
period of time.
Now I will say, Breland never had a huge contract. I'm looking at his numbers. He was a 4th-round pick here, so he got like 4 years, $3 million here, roughly. Then he had a 1-year, $1 million deal in Green Bay, $2 million, $3 million after that. So never made it big, but you're still talking about a guy who made close to $10 million.
10 million. You're right. I mean,
Right.
what is he doing? Why is he? I mean,
Right.
Why is he
Even
dealing
if
drugs?
you had to give half that to your agents, you should have a couple million.
He'd
in
have a
bank
couple
still.
million, even if he wasted it all on his
Right.
homies or whatever, and paid his agents and all of that, taxes.
Right.
He's still got to have a couple $1,000,000 left, unless he's just been really, really dumb with his money. Of course, look at him, but he probably is really, really dumb with his money.
Right.
He's not exactly investing in like Warren Buffett's investment strategy.
No, probably not. Probably not putting a lot in any CDs or any.
I'm guessing not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not investing in a 401k.
No. Well, he technically would be vested in the NFL's retirement. So.
Did he retire? Did he have more than 5 years?
Yeah. He had
Okay.
7 years, I think.
So anyway, it's the whole thing. We don't need to spend too much time on it. It's I think he showed his true character, because the last one was something about it's in here. The other arrest was kind of similar. It was he got stopped and had a bunch of drugs and mouthed off at a cop, and
yeah,
it was just very similar. There was weapons, I think, involved. I don't think there was a stolen car in the first one.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think there was that.
Right.
But he's just clearly not a particularly good person.
Man, that duo of receivers we had at one point was Quentin Dunbar and Rashad Breeland. That was a 1-2 we had, and it was actually pretty good. That's the sad thing. That was one of our better secondaries for a while.
Not exactly a models of Christian family values.
No. I don't know any family values that would.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't remind Christian any family values whatsoever.
Right.
Except, if your name is Tony Soprano, those values perhaps.
Right. Mobster family values.
Exactly right.
Yeah, right.
If your name is Soprano, or your name is
Gotti, maybe.
Yeah, Gotti.
We want to use a real one. Yeah.
Pick the head of the Crips, one of him, maybe that person.
Sure. Oh man, I saw that and I was like, I used to be such a fan of this guy when he was a player for us. Like he was, that 4th-round pick who turned into a starter. You always loved those.
Sure.
I just don't understand. I mean, can you not escape? Obviously, he couldn't. So I'm assuming, I don't really remember his background, but okay, let's assume he came from a poor area, low income, bad crime. Yeah. But you had an escape, and some of these guys just cannot get it out of their head. They revert to what they were. The smart thing to do would be to abandon all those crappy people and move on to the real world. But some of these guys just can't do it, and obviously he couldn't. He's going to pay the price.
Oh yeah. Well, look, that kind of stuff. You're talking multiple years in prison, I'm assuming.
Probably. I mean,
Right.
again, I haven't read it. I'm not licensed in North Carolina, but I would assume,
Right.
yeah, a few years probably. I would guess.
Well, he's from a fairly small town in South Carolina. It's not like he's from like some big city either.
I don't know. I mean, it could be in the suburbs, and he's hanging out and down to Bad Air,
Maybe.
Charlotte. I don't know. Who knows? I don't
Well,
know.
no, it's like South Carolina. So it'd be I don't what's Charleston maybe? That
He's
would
from
be.
Charleston. I mean,
Well,
again,
he's from the middle of nowhere.
okay, but it doesn't mean
yeah.
there's not a bunch of scummy. I don't know. Who knows? But
Oh, sure. There's plenty of scummy people in rural areas too.
you can't assume. But in this case,
Yeah.
whatever happened, he's at one point fell into the wrong crowd and never escaped from it.
Yep. Yeah.
But again, you should have no sympathy whatsoever for this to the extent anybody does.
Right. But at the same time, you hate seeing this cycle just repeating with so many players. It's a shame how often it does.
The NFL's tried to do something about it. They have that rookie seminar, about money, but I don't know how much that really sinks in. Probably the smart ones get it, but the smart ones probably didn't really need it. People like Breland, it clearly didn't sink in, but they're not going to listen to that. And I mean, it's not really the NFL's job to be life coaches. These are adults.
Sure.
But that having been said, you're handing these guys millions of dollars, and very few of them understand what to do with it. Even the people are like, look at Johnny Manziel. His family's very wealthy, and he's a total train wreck. Yeah. I mean, just very hard to deal with. And so
I got to watch that documentary that came out about him.
I haven't read it yet. There's a documentary, for those you don't know what Alex is talking about. There's a documentary on Netflix about the life and times of Johnny Manziel, and he tried to commit suicide apparently in the firearm malfunctioned when he pulled the trigger. It's really bad. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. But my point is, could the NFL do more to be kind of life coaches? Yes, but on the other hand, it's not really their job. No. It's not. This is not counseling. It's a business. And if you can't handle it, to some extent, tough luck. But recognize who you're bringing in and making multimillionaires instantly are people who are utterly unqualified to handle it.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's good people, the danger of pro athletes.
Some of them are gangbangers and bad. Some of them aren't, but some of them are.
Yeah.
And then the Manziels of the world who aren't gangbangers pro athletes, man. Still bad.
These guys come out of high school at 18. They're, treated like gods in college. They're probably already millionaires under the table. All of these guys.
Could be. Right. Yeah.
And then they come to the NFL and the same thing happens and then it goes away, like that. Just in the blink of an eye.
Well, so. It's just like several years ago between Deshaun Jackson and Richard Sherman. They've talked about how many either athletes or just highly intelligent kids are in a bad area, but they get so consumed by either the lifestyle or just the environment around them. And even when they have a chance to have that opportunity to get away and break away, the majority of them always seem to find the way back into that life again. Mm-hmm. It's just so hard to break away and stay away.
Richard Sherman's had his problems, multiple problems himself, by the way. He
is a very high IQ guy at the same time,
he's a smart guy, and he's been a mess.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all of it. Doesn't matter, but he's had multiple incidents that are not good.
All right. I feel like we need a palate cleanser between this and the next topic, but I don't really have anything because the next thing is talking about this whole crazy petition story. But we don't have anything in between. So, you know what we can mention in between?
You have some
the team hired a new CFO. That's Chief Financial Officer, Greg Fisher. No one knows anything about him, nor should you care.
No, but the other guy, so they...
Yes, there's the other guy they hired Thad Shelley.
So what I've been saying for a couple years now is to do these kind of... he's apparently a stadium guy. What I've seen is he developed MetLife. I guess he was involved in that. You have to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who knows how to do development. You cannot just have Josh Harris walk in and he doesn't know how to do this. So this guy, I think, is Mr. Stadium.
Yes.
He's a guy I would work with him, me do the legal work and he does the business stuff. That's what he's going to be. And so the team did need somebody like that. And so I think, I don't know anything about this guy in particular, but somebody like that is exactly what they needed.
You have worked with many guys like this in your life.
Tons. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm involved in this. I guess I can't say what it is. I'm involved in a professional organization for attorneys who do stadium development. And it's there's a network of people who do this, and he's one of them probably.
Right. So like you said, he did MetLife. Obviously, Washington's a little bit different than doing stuff in New York, New Jersey. But the big thing that helps them there, if you think back on it and you remember it all, when they were getting rid of the Meadowlands, the old stadium, there was a lot of talk about moving the team out of New Jersey back to some part of New York, either on Long Island or in Manhattan themselves.
I don't know how they can build a stadium in Manhattan, but
I know they mentioned like Brooklyn at one point too.
Yeah, Brooklyn was Long Island, Brooklyn, all that area.
Yeah.
The idea in Manhattan, from what I remember, Steve, was building it over the old train depot, like where all the train tracks are, because that's a huge amount of Manhattan that's apparently just being used as train tracks.
Yeah.
So that was their idea, which is pretty smart to build on top of that overall. But obviously it ended up in the Meadowlands. From what I remember, there was some interesting things that happened there. Dave, you might know a little more because you're closer in Philly, but I thought I remember like there was a lot of backroom dealings with certain like maybe cement companies or something, if you know what I mean. To keep the team in New
saying Tony
Jersey.
Soprano and John Gotti were involved? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying those names because I don't know.
Are you saying they paid the people who developed MetLife paid off the mob? Is that what you're saying?
There were apparently some accidents that occurred.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
People
the
slipped
whole
and fell.
Formation
It would be very advantageous to you if you like your knees. That kind of thing.
Otherwise, you're going to slip and fall in this hole that mysteriously got covered up by concrete.
Right. The Meadowlands is filled with a lot of things. It's a swamp. Stuff sinks.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So that is, it's interesting that they went with that guy, the guy who did the Meadowlands. I actually find the whole like he dealt with multiple states to get that agreement done. That'll be advantageous. I think he can fall back on some experience there maybe. All right, so let's talk about the petition, because this thing is making the rounds on social media like crazy. What is it? The Native American Guardians Association is what they called themselves.
Yeah, the NAGA.
Yeah, they collected 60 some odd thousand signatures, submitted it to the team, and then they started doing their press junket. So the thing that stood out to me right away is the two people involved in the press junket. One is Anthony Andrews, who's the whitest white guy you'll ever see. And the other is Haley Baumgartner, a career political operative for Trump and Giuliani and George W. Bush, who's the whitest, bimbo-iest blonde you'll ever see. Neither is any part Native American. 0.0. It turns out it was just a front, the Native American.
I don't think
part.
she's a bimbo just because she was a conservative, Alex.
No. It's because she's a bleached blonde that she's a bimbo. It's
okay.
fake blonde.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, neither here nor there. They're
You're
not.
Gonna have to have
American.
a Mao struggle session to apologize for the comment, Alex. I'm telling you.
I'm not gonna apologize for that at all. All bleach blondes are by default can be called bimbos. It's in the rules. If you bleach your hair blonde, sorry, that's your issue. But yes, not Native American is the takeaway I got from it really quickly. So that's a thing. The number of signatures is impressive, though. I will give them that regardless.
Okay, let me
you
stop
got 60,000 sigs.
Yeah. It's still not gonna matter. But okay,
no.
So this Native American Guardians Association, I did not have time to really, really research this, but I'll say a couple things about them. They claim to be a 501c3 nonprofit. And if that is true, and that's not just a total fallacy, then they qualify, and they've been designated that by the federal government, which means it's legit to a certain extent. And then if you look at who they advertise as their leadership team, it's a bunch of Native Americans. I'll just read a couple. There's some names are English sounding names, but Native American looking people, and they have Native American bios in here and whatnot as the directors, as the leadership team of this thing. So if this is true and it's not a total fraud, then this is a legitimate Native American organization. And could they have maybe done better than have a blonde white woman, on the video? Probably. But on the other hand, she can advocate for them, and they hired her, and okay. So I don't think it's a total fraud. I just think it's a waste of time because it's not going to matter.
Yeah, where did you find their leadership team? I've been looking.
Well, it's on their website, and their website isn't done very well. The website is nagaeducation.org, and if you click the, I'm on my phone, not on a laptop here. So if you click the thing at the top right, you go to, which one am I even?
Yeah. Okay, I found it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, and taking this as true, and again, websites can be wrong and can be fraudulent, but taking this to be true, it's a legit organization.
Sure, if that is, but also you're right, that is a terrible website. They need a web designer.
It's poorly done for sure.
Yes.
This is not like, the NRA here we're talking about.
No,
like this is a small time, small, low rent charity, but it's a legit charity. If this is true.
If it is, yeah. Now 501c3, easy enough to file for. I've done it. Like in a past life when I was like in my 20s.
I'm not saying you're being vetted by nuclear scientists here. I'm saying that it probably means that they're a legit organization that have a legit purpose, and taking these to be true. And by the way, there are some white people, the photos of the leadership team, some of them look white and aren't, and are Native American, So I support. I signed the petition. I don't think it's going to matter, but it took me 10 seconds to sign it and can't hurt anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, they use change.org. It's a very easy thing to do.
Yeah. So I don't disparage them for the woman who was going around. She made some good points. She's getting paid. She's doing a job. I just what's Josh Harris going to do with something like this? Oh,
no, he's not going to do anything with it.
No.
Right. Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm just at a point to where it's, it's unless I start seeing a group of true Native Americans come out in mass and start really speaking or have an interpreter there for them, if there's any kind of language barriers of any sort or whatever it is to represent the actual cause that they're fighting for and make that push themselves and put themselves out in the forefront, which they probably never will. That's how it starts. To me, it's already been a dead issue for a while, because I know, like you said, Steve, it's a waste of time, never coming back. It's just I'm just kind of tired of just maybe there's a possibility, or this organization's this and that. It's just, I'm just done. I'm ready to move forward. If it happens, it goes back, that's great. I'll have a party and, it'll be wonderful. But I don't know. I'm just exhausted by all this now. I'm just ready to move forward. Right. Just ready to move on. So, but
I mean, look, it's not happening. And no. I feel almost bad for these people you see online who are somehow convinced that this is going to change everything or anything. It's not.
It's going to change nothing.
Right. No. It's all about money.
Even if Josh Harris was willing to listen, the NFL will not. The NFL is controlled by, the modern day kind of leftist, political correctness, and they're just not going to do this. Right. Period. They won't.
It's about the money in the end, and they're not going to mess with it.
Yeah. But the only way it would work is if you're able to have a true Native American group get some kind of controlling interest of this team. And then now they can come in there and name
Even
it
then,
whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, true, but I mean that's
Outside of that, not happening.
I don't think there's too many traditional Native Americans who have got multiple billions of dollars.
No, of course not.
No. Actually, I
No.
would venture to guess there might be like maybe one Native American
I
billionaire. Like I don't
I have
even
no
know.
idea. But
Yeah.
the pool of potential owners are very small, no matter what.
It's less than 1,000 people in the world or something.
Even
Yeah.
smaller
Yeah.
for Native American, traditional Native Americans,
Yeah.
in ethnic background,
Yeah.
And even if Josh Harris wanted to
cultural
even
background.
even if Josh Harris wanted to even kind of just maybe think about doing this, he'd have to bring in like true like some sort of Native American like the Seven Chiefs, I think it is, or whatever. They would have to incorporate these tribes with this team one way or another. So if they were to introduce the name back again and people were sitting there and they want to protest against it, it's like, go talk to my Native American counterparts. These guys have been pushing for it. I donated them, just say whatever, some percentage of the team so this could happen, and they are the ones driving this. They're the
But none
ones
of that's going to
responsible.
happen.
Yeah.
None of that will happen. Of course not.
0.0% chance.
Yeah.
Anyone's donating part of the team.
Oh, of course not. But you get the long.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
just-
None of
It's
that
not
is
gonna
going to
happen.
happen. You're
The
right.
Right.
team
It's a
already came out
far-fetched
with a
idea.
statement and said no.
Right.
Like the team
Did
came out
they
with a
say
statement.
that?
They said, look, we refer to the team by the name Redskins in the past. It's the past. We're moving on. Like I don't remember the exact quote, but it was along those lines. It was. I think they have respect for the past team. They're not going to try and erase the history like it felt like Jason Wright and Dan were really pushing for in the end.
I can't wait for the day that Jason Wright, he's one of the reasons why I just can't root for the team like I used to anymore. I just dislike the guy.
Yeah, I like the guy. I just think he hasn't done a good job. Which is a different thing.
So just through the traditions of the team in the trash can, people like me who've been fans for forever, and who cares?
Now maybe this opens a door to where, okay, well, we're never going to get the Redskins back again, but maybe you can have some sort of a deal or something struck like Florida State does, and you pick a tribe or you pick a region and they want to be part of this team with their name, and they say use our name or something to represent that tribe or something like that. Maybe it opens the door for that, but even that, highly unlikely as well too. So it's just best to move forward. If you want to change the name of this team, find a name that will just honor the history, like Hogs or something like
Hogs,
that.
Warriors, Red Wolves, Red Tails, one of those.
Yeah. There you go.
I mean, that's it.
That saves $3 million in marketing.
Exactly.
Take
we just discuss it in 2 minutes. Change it to one of those. Pick your favorite out of those names.
Right. Or even like Red Spears.
I don't like that.
There you go.
I feel like that's not. It doesn't roll off the tongue. Yeah. I don't know. That's just me. It's like when people would say war hogs, and I was like, that's not a thing. Like
What's
that's
a war hog?
Yeah, exactly. Warthog I would get.
That's an airplane.
Right, and it's also a type of hog. It's
But
also
has nothing to do with the team at all.
Right. No. Red hogs at least sound like it's a type of hog.
A hog with a sunburn.
Yeah. But yeah, there are those people who they get obsessed with their little name they came up with, and they're like convinced it's the best, and it's
actually, I actually like Red Hogs a lot. Actually, myself.
I do too. I think Red Hogs
that would have been good. Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah. Oh well, I don't think it'll happen.
The mascot would have been a hog in a bikini laying on a beach. Red hogs.
Well, I mean, the mascot is a hog.
Dave's laughing at me.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've seen this Major Tutty thing.
Yeah.
That is the most god-awful, stupid, ridiculous mascot I have ever seen.
It's for 4-year-olds. Don't worry about it.
Holy moly, is that bad?
The kids actually love him, though, so that's all that really matters.
God.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I thought was funny, today they had the mascot out at training camp, and they didn't have his normal helmet on him. And apparently they gave him a Jufro under the helmet. Yeah, he had like a poofy curly Jew fro going.
Just a total amateur hour.
You're never gonna see the hair unless in the normal circumstances. But they forgot to put the helmet on, I guess.
Oh,
All right, guys, that should wrap us up.
that we've got to end on that one.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the preseason football that's coming this weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
See it.